and a little bit less another day. I apologize as I'm looking at this. First grade, kindergarten and first grade didn't make my list, but it is 45 minutes. So 45 minutes for kindergarten and first grade. And for fourth grade, we're talking about 90 minutes total. And for 6-12, we're talking about 30 minutes per class, not to go over a total of 3 hours. Again, I know it's come up a couple of times about kindergarten and first grade. I apologize, they didn't make my PowerPoint. That is 45 minutes for kindergarten and first grade. So it's quite a bit different than what we are used to in a regular time. But again, going back to our philosophy, our goal is to continue high levels of achievement, high levels of education, and we're doing that by narrowing and focusing and taking what is absolutely the most important pieces. And teachers have been wrestling with that this week. They've been wrestling. They want to include everything, and yet we know that that's not always going to be the case. One of the questions that comes up a lot is, what about technology? There's a lot of information that's on your screen, but I'll take it just little bits at a time. Technology and the internet will not be required for students to complete their work. However, some things could be that way. Again, we're talking about providing voice and choice for students. We know that not all households have technology available whenever a child may want it, and they don't always have reliable internet to do all of the things that they maybe want to do. So we're looking for additional ways that they can help. If you are interested in support for the internet, there are some potential resources available on the district website underneath information for parents. If you are interested in a device checkout, we are working on a plan. Phase 1 of the plan is for families that have no device at all. Then phase 2 would be for those families that say, you know, we do have a device, but it's going to be shared among a number of people. So if we could check out a second device, that would be helpful. We're working on phase 1 for families, and then phase 2 will come next. Teachers are, again, working on lessons that included technology and ones that do not. One of the things that we're going to do at the beginning of next week is as we roll things out, we're going to see what students are able to do, and then we're going to continue to adjust. We've had any number of times this week where we thought something was working perfectly, and then we ran into a snag and it wasn't. And we've come back and we've readjusted to look at a different way of doing things. So we'll continue to do that during our entire time. If it looks like that it's important to have packets of materials that are completely offline, then we will also do that, and then we will communicate distribution points for families to be able to get that information. So there was a question there about, are kids required to do this? And I know the last time that we did a Facebook Live, there were lots of questions about, so what about grades? What about attendance? So again, our philosophy is that we will continue to learn and support all students. The plan is also to have work that kids are doing enhance their grades and not lower their grades, not penalize students. Teachers will be keeping track of students that they have interacted with, and will contact parents and families that they have not, students and families that they've not heard from, to be sure that it's not about a connection issue. That if someone is trying to do the work, that we make every effort to support them in being able to do the work. There's a question about, what about my child next year? Are they going to be held back? If students are engaging and working through lessons, they will be on track to move forward to the next grade level. Our goal 100% is to help students and to support students. Then we're not trying to penalize. One of the things that we're also doing is reviewing senior schedules to work with students so that they are able and ready to graduate. We know that first of all, there's a certain number of credits they need to have, and we're absolutely working to make sure that they have that. In addition to credits, there's also a level of preparedness that students need for their post-secondary plans. And so we're working that out as well.
So Adeline, thank you for sharing that information. And certainly there's a lot there. And we understand it's going to take a while to have families understand that there's going to be modifications based on age. And by the way, we might get through next week and really change the way we're doing business altogether. We really are kind of into an experimental phase. And really our next week is number one, to help families understand how we're using technology, those that have that resource, and then prepare for those that may not. The second part of next week is we need our students and teachers to reconnect. In some ways, it's like the beginning of a school year all over again, although they know each other and they've spent 3 quarters together in person, live in a classroom setting. It's time to reconnect. By the time that they get back together, it's been at least 15 days or greater since they've seen each other. So they're trying to find ways to reconnect, create a new online experience for some, and then new packets for others. Dr. Bonner, you are muted, but if you want to unmute, and if there's any questions you've seen online related to this topic, we'd love to hear them, and Adeline will address those.
Just a couple that I think that weren't addressed already was one early asked about students' abilities to work at their own pace with this learning, as far as, can they work faster, get ahead? Can they, if they need to work slower, is that possible as well?
Heather, I don't know, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm not 100% sure about the lag, so I thought you were still talking. I apologize. Yes, students will be able to. The work, as you saw, the time frames for students is, somewhere between 30 minutes up to a total of 3 hours. So students will have the ability to work at their own pace. If we mean the own pace would be, at a couple of days at a time. Teachers will work with students. If it's a matter of, a student this week can't get things done, but next week they could get more done, they'll work on that with their individual teacher. Again, we know that students are being asked to help out at home. They're doing jobs, they're doing other kinds of things. So our goal is to help them work and be successful.
Dr. Bonner, what other questions might you have out there?
I think one asked about the types of technology, asked if the iPad would work, and one of our teachers, I believe, answered that one, that yes, different types of technology will work, whether it be a Chromebook, a laptop, a desktop, an iPad, a smartphone, those kinds of things. One parent asked that said that they actually have a Chromebook at home. The school issued one, but they also have other devices available for their student. Would we like that Chromebook back if they won't need it?
I would recommend at this time that the family keep it, but we would reach out in that situation. So Dr. Bonner, if you want to keep that name in the event that we don't have enough, but we're doing everything possible, and we're taking technology that's usually found in classrooms, and removing it from classrooms temporarily and doing a checkout system, but it might be nice, and we appreciate the generous offer. And certainly that might be an example of something that you and maybe other family members at this time, if you don't have the technology, but someone in your family does, and they're willing to part with it for the rest of the school year, at least on and off throughout the week, that might be a way, with social distancing, of course, to share some technology outside of your home.
Another one of the questions was asked about technology help if they have some issues, and actually I can answer that because we've been talking about that in the last little bit. And so You should, and I'm sure Mrs. Solar will talk a little bit about some communications that might be coming out from the schools and from the teachers. And as part of that communication will be some information from our technology department that will also be on our website about how to get help if it's just a tech support issue, something isn't working right, or if it's a repair where the Chromebook might need to be turned in. So one of the techs can work on it and then return it. So look for that information both in some communications from your school or teachers and then on our website. A few questions were there regarding special education services and how those will be provided.
Yeah, Ms. Solner, I'm going to let you take the lead on that one. I know you've been working with the team as well, and they're developing their own strategies and Cedar County Co-op 618, but can you go ahead and share what we do know?
Yes, we again are working to be able to meet the accommodations and meet the goals of student IEPs. There's been a number of conversations between special education teachers and regular ed teachers and related service providers to be able to make sure that students are receiving services and support that they can. And in the event, if a related service provider, for example, can't meet with a student, then they're working towards providing some information for parents so that parents could help out. But they are definitely making plans for students with IEPs and will be contacting families.
Thank you. Dr. Bonner?
We have a couple questions just in general. I think we can wrap them together into again, some people are asking about, items kids have at school. Will they be able to get those? Specific question about headphones and things like that. So you might review, Dr. Gibson, about the plans to, at some point be able to get the rest of their belongings.
Yeah, we know that's, we've tried to take care of the essential belongings that we know of, whether it be medication or eyeglasses, et cetera, through the principals. And certainly if there's a critical need one that maybe have been forgotten or maybe you missed that, it's okay to reach out to your principal. Maybe we can think of a way or find a way to meet you at a food serving site, et cetera. Those other items such as folders and notebooks and those type of things, because we want to keep our staff safe and definitely want to keep our community members safe, we're really restricting access, and that's very difficult. One of the things that CDC has come out with in regards to this particular virus is that it's not just the person-to-person contact, but the virus can live on surfaces for quite some time. And so we're trying to be very careful and limiting even the interaction physically, touching and then touching with another surface with another person in our district. So there will be a time, and what we're considering right now is, for example, maybe at the middle school, lockers will be bagged up or boxed up, depending what's in them, with the student's name on them. And then we might find a time down the road where we can just simply have a pickup. And of course, we need to stagger it. But for the time being, we're trying to take care of the essential items, and the rest will come later.
I'm seeing a question online about college classes for high schoolers, and want to assure you there that we've been in contact with, our staff has been in contact with the colleges, and students will continue to do the work that is part of their dual credit courses. So they may find themselves doing a little bit more work outside of the time frames, but they will continue to need to do the work for those dual credit classes in order to receive the credit for dual credit courses. I'm also seeing about work that students have on their Chromebooks now that they have not turned in. If they do have, high school students have work now that they have not turned in, they might go ahead and send those to their teachers so that they can, teachers can include that information. I'm also seeing a question about 504 accommodations, and I should have addressed that when I addressed IEP services. We are also reviewing 504 plans for students and asking students to, or asking the 504 coordinators to be sure to be working with teachers so that we can provide the accommodations that we need to for students with 504 plans as well.
I have a few questions I see about people that still need technology that their student might have left in the buildings, and you know, we have sent out information and emails and tried to call people about retrieving those essential items this past few days. If you still have an essential item, a Chromebook, technology, something like that, my suggestion is to email the building principal or assistant principals and let them figure out a time that they might be able to collect that item and find a way to hand it off.
What other questions might there be before we wrap up?
So one of the things that has come across a little bit here and there is, so how is this going to work? How do we know what next week's going to look like? How are we going to get information? And I want to let you know that tomorrow, principals will send, principals are planning to send a communication to families to let you know how things will work. Then on Monday, teachers will send a kind of a week overview of topics that will be covered, and then teachers will send Monday's assignments. Then every morning, teachers will send the information for the day, and that way they're continuing to check in with kids. So just as an overview, principals will send some general information tomorrow, Friday. Monday morning, teachers will send an overview of the week, and then each day, teachers will send assignments. One of the things that we want to make sure of is that we are responding to all of you. And so we've encouraged teachers to take it slow, do a few things at a time so that people can get used to and we can troubleshoot and see what works. And then we will continue to adjust.
Anything else, Dr. Bonner or Mrs. Solner?
You might review what, you know, potentialities we have for graduation. There were a few questions about that. Again, just review.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we realize that those are traditions that we hope that every student gets to experience to walk the stage. And so obviously that would not even be allowable. It's not an essential item, nor can we have that many people collected in one location. You can only have 10 people max in one location. So we know it's on hold for right now. It is likely it'll be on hold at the scheduled time in May. But our hope is that maybe this summer, when some of the restrictions lift and we get out of this time, we can provide that opportunity for those families and students who wish to do so. If you've been following what's happening at the collegiate level or college level, they've already said it's not going to happen in person. Many of them have already went to an online version. That would be a last resort for us. It's certainly a possibility if we get into July and we're in same holding pattern as we are now. But if that's the only situation we have, only option we have, we would consider that would be the last resort.
You know, one of the things that we might mention is a lot of the questions we're getting, I think, are on our frequently asked questions page on our website. So on the front page of our website, we have a school closure communications link. And if you click on that link, it will take you to the page that has quite a bit of information, our meal pickup information and a frequently asked questions page. That some of those questions about the band trip and how about returning items and what should I turn in my library books and those kinds of things are on those in those questions and answers. So that might help answer a few questions too.
So there's a few questions that are being asked about, will this go to, will the information go to parent emails or student emails? And that depends a little bit by the age of the student. So so typically it would go in the way that kids have and parents have typically been receiving information. And so, again, one of the things teachers will do is if they have not heard from families, they will be contacting and making sure that we have the correct connections for you. The other question that was there is, what if I get the information from my student, but I have to leave the house to go to work? Can my student do it later in the day? Yes. The question then was about, what about due dates? So the due dates, we're gonna try to have as much flexibility as we can, not do every day. In some cases, it may be they're given something on Monday that is due on Friday, etc. There may be other kinds of configurations, but part of what we know and part of what we're working for is to stay flexible. We know some students will be able to do their work in the morning, some will be able to do it in the afternoon, some will be able to do it one day, some will be able to do it in every couple of days. So again, students will be contacted in the way that they typically have been or parents typically have been. And then we'll spend the first couple of days kind of sorting out if information is getting to you or not.
So I think I'd like to wrap up and share my appreciation from all of our teams, including Mrs. Solner and Dr. Bonner, and all of our staff are working diligently on the continuous learning plan. You'll get additional details from your building and teachers as we move forward. And just as a big picture, we wanted to make sure you keep safe as community members. I know that currently the status of stay-at-home orders and those type of things are impacting businesses and communities and workforce, and we fully understand that. It certainly is changing the way we operate as well. Keep in mind, as we stand right now, the United States has more cases of COVID-19 than any country in the world. It's fast spreading here. Missouri, our neighbor to the east, has now went over 500. So one of the things that we'd like to just recommend to you, on top of social distancing, we know our kids want to go outside, they want to see their friends, they want to connect on playgrounds, they want to connect various places. The next 2 weeks will determine, honestly, how long we're in this situation. So the best you can do to keep your kids home and certainly interact with your family and those type of things, and decrease the opportunity for them to be exposed and bring home the virus would be greatly appreciated. That's what the stay-at-home order is all about. So we appreciate your support on that. We may not have another Facebook live event as a district for a while, because now we're passing the baton over to our buildings and teachers to individually connect with their families. But should something change or we feel the need to have one, we will schedule another one. So thank you for joining, and we hope to see you soon.